So I want you to follow closely as we examine the different aspects of IELTS speaking and how we can prepare ourselves for success in IELTS speaking. Okay? So
Oh,
by way of overview, let me say that IELTS speaking is one of the 4 modules of IELTS, and it's going to account for 25% of your total score. So you have IELTS listening, that will take up 25% of your score. We have IELTS writing, that will take up another 25%. We have IELTS reading, that will take up another 25%, and IELTS speaking, that will take up 25%. So speaking is important because it will give IELTS examiners the opportunity to know how well you can talk in English. They want to know how well you can pronounce English words. They want to know how well you can construct sentences using the words of your mouth. Okay? They are going to ask you questions. So the way the exam is set, the speaking part of the exam, the way it is set, you are going to be asked questions. It's like an interview kind of situation. You are going to be seated. The examiner too will be seated. If it's by video, the examiner will be looking at you through the computer camera. You two, you'll be seeing the examiner. And then you're going to be discussing. So the examiner will ask you questions and the examiner will wait for you to answer. And your job is to answer in English. The words that you speak must be what? They must be English words. They must be words that the examiner will understand. Okay? So it's an interview kind of exam. The examiner will ask questions, you will answer. And then at the end of everything, that interview session will be, as you are being interviewed, it will be recorded. Just note that it is being recorded. So they're going to take the recording and send the recording to examiners, to other examiners to listen to and then to assess you. So it's important that you speak clearly, you speak loud, and you answer questions as the examiner is asking you. So I'm going to be showing you the 3 parts. So these are the 3 parts. The first part is called the introduction, general introduction, and familiarization. So the examiner will ask you questions about yourself. We'll ask you questions about what you do, questions about where you work. I'm going to show you examples of some part 1 questions later. Then we have part 2. For part 2, the examiner will give you a piece of paper or a card that contains some questions. So your job will be to give a short presentation based on the information in that card. So you're going to give a 2-minute presentation. You will talk for 2 minutes based on the information in that card. That's part 2. And then part 3 basically involves discussion. The examiner will ask you questions connected to what you discussed in part 2. Okay? So let's assume that your part 2 question was about a place, a museum that you went to. The examiner, when it gets to part 3, the examiner will probably ask you questions about museums. We'll ask questions about preserving history. We'll ask questions about places where people can go to as tourists. You understand? So part 3 questions are usually connected to something that you mentioned or something that you talked about in part 2. I hope you are following me. Let me know if you are following me. If you are following me, let me see your message. I want you to drop a message for me. Let me know whether you are following me. Let me know who is following me. If you are following me, please drop a message. Let me know who is following me. All right, very good. I can see your message. Thank you very much. So what are we looking at here? How do we prepare ourselves? What are the things that we need to take note of? What are the things that we need to keep in mind when it comes to, doing well in IELTS speaking? Since IELTS speaking involves talking, the best way to prepare yourself for success in IELTS speaking is to practice talking in English. So the first thing I'm going to bring out to you today is that what? You need to get somebody that you can practice speaking with regularly, especially if you are in an environment where you hardly talk in English. Maybe in your workplace, you hardly talk in English, or maybe in your house, you hardly talk in English. Then you really, really need to get somebody that you can practice IELTS speaking with regularly. Okay? So you probably look for somebody who is also doing IELTS, and then the two of you will practice speaking together. Okay? That will go a long way in helping you. The other thing is that maybe you can chat with people in your group, people in your WhatsApp group, and then let them know that, okay, you need a partner. Let the people in the group know that you need a partner, a speaking partner that you can practice IELTS speaking with. That will also help. Okay, so practicing IELTS speaking is important. How do we practice? You practice using standard IELTS speaking questions. So you get questions. There's a popular book. I'm going to be showing you some things from that book. I'll share the PDF file of the book with you also so that you can practice with. We call it the marker book. So you practice with that book. You practice with questions in that book. Okay, it's going to help also. All right. So that's just, I'll come back to that issue later on. Now, let's look at the different parts of IELTS speaking. Or let me put it this way. Before we go into the different parts, let's talk about the criteria. How will our speaking be assessed? There are 4 criteria that will be used to assess your speaking. 4 criteria. The first criteria is called fluency and coherence. Fluency and what? Fluency and coherence. This is the criteria that would be used to determine how well you can what? How well you can respond to questions, how detailed your responses are. So whenever you get a question from the examiner, you must give well-developed answers. Don't give one-word answers. Don't give short answers. No, give well-developed responses. Talk at length. So the examiner asks you and says, okay, so do you like your job? Some people will say yes, and then they will keep quiet. No, that's not what we want. Don't just say yes and then keep quiet. No, give reasons. Why do you like your job? Go ahead and tell the examiner why you like your job. So let me give an illustration. So somebody, I'm doing an IELTS interview now, and the examiner asks me, all right, so Tayo, do you like your job? I say, wow, that's a good question. I love my job. I've been working as a teacher for more than 15 years. And I like it particularly because it gives me an opportunity to shape the thinking of people, gives you opportunity to show people how to learn, how to develop their mental faculties, and how to come up with solutions to problems. I've worked with many students, young and old, students from different backgrounds, different ethnic groups in my country. And I've even had the opportunity to also learn from them, learn a lot of things from them about their culture, about different things. So I'll say I enjoy my job. If I had the opportunity to choose another job, I'll still choose teaching. Can you see that I talked at length? I didn't just say yes. I gave reasons. I gave 2, 3 reasons to back up my word, to back up my yes. That is what we mean by what? Fluency. Okay? Coherence means your answer must correspond to the question. They ask you, do you like your job? And then the person now says, yes, I like my job. At least it's better than the job I'm working at now is better than the one I was, the place where I'm working now is better than the place where I was working 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I was working at XYZ and the boss was not very friendly. So you now start talking about that job where you were working at 2 years ago. That's poor coherence. That's not what the examiner asked you. The examiner asked you, do you like your job? It's referring to your current job. So coherence is important. You must make sure you understand the question and address the question that they're asking you. Fluency and coherence. Okay, so that's criterion number one. Criterion number two is grammar. Grammar talks about your tenses, using the right tenses, past tense, present tense, future tense. Grammar talks about your singular and plural words. Okay, using singular words when you are required to use singular words, using plural words when you are required to use plural words. Grammar talks about using the right prepositions, using the right conjunctions, using variety of sentence structures, simple sentences, compound sentences, complex sentences, compound complex sentences. We want to see variety of sentence structures, and those sentence structures must be constructed appropriately. When we talk about grammar in IELTS speaking, it is 100% similar to grammar in IELTS writing. So somebody says, how do I improve my grammar in IELTS speaking? The best way to improve your grammar in IELTS speaking is to improve your grammar in IELTS writing. And how do you improve your grammar in IELTS writing? It's by practicing writing, by practicing with lots of quizzes, by studying grammar textbooks, and by going through grammar lessons, lessons on grammar. So when you expose yourself to lessons on grammar, you become more familiar with the conventions of English grammar, the rules of English grammar, and then you apply those rules whenever you are writing and eventually whenever you are speaking. The thing is this, when we write, we take more time to think about what we want to write before we eventually write that stuff. But when we speak, we don't have the time to think for long. So when we speak, we are speaking out of the reservoir of grammar knowledge that we have. So if that reservoir has not been built up while preparing for your writing, whenever you speak, your speaking will be poor because you have not really improved on your grammar. So improving your grammar begins with what? Improving your grammar in IELTS speaking. IELTS writing, sorry, in IELTS writing. So grammar is extremely important. It accounts for 25% of your score. So if your grammar score in IELTS speaking, if your grammar score is lower than 6.5, your overall speaking score will not go above 6.5. This grammar is extremely important because poor grammar can actually confuse the examiner. And the examiner will not understand what you are saying if your grammar is poor. So grammar is also important. The third one is vocabulary. Vocabulary. What do we mean by vocabulary? Vocabulary basically talks about using the right words. Okay? Vocabulary talks about what? Using the right words to express yourself. That's number one. Number two is that what? You must use variety of words. Synonyms. Use paraphrases. So in IELTS listening and IELTS reading are designed to assess your ability to identify synonyms and paraphrases. IELTS writing and IELTS speaking are designed to assess your ability to use synonyms and paraphrases. So when we say vocabulary, we are saying that what? You must use variety of words, use the right words, and you must use the right words. That's vocabulary. Okay, and then criterion number 4 is what we call pronunciation. Pronunciation basically talks about how well you are able to articulate your words. Okay, your pronunciation, your words must be pronounced clearly. In other words, if you are pronouncing the past tense of a word, it must be clear that you are pronouncing the past tense. Okay, so somebody says, let's say somebody is being interviewed by an examiner now, and the examiner says, which school did you attend? Which school did you attend? That question is a past tense question. It's about something that happened in the past. Whenever you want to answer, you must use past tense. That's grammar. Now, when you pronounce your words, your past tense words must come out clearly. So the person will say, I attended, that's past tense. Attended is the past tense of attend. I attended Lagos Business School. I'm just using that to illustrate. I attended Lagos Business School. So that's past tense. Your tenses, your words, past tense of your words must be clearly pronounced. Plural words must be clearly pronounced. Okay? Schools, school. Okay? Universities, university. Governments, government. So the S, if your plural word has an S at the end of that word, then the S must come out whenever you are pronouncing that word. Pronunciation is extremely important. If your pronunciation is not clear enough, it's going to affect your grammar score. It can even affect vocabulary score. So you cannot afford to joke with pronunciation. You cannot afford to joke with pronunciation. Hope you are getting my point. If you are still with me, let me see your message. If you are still following me, let me see your message. We're talking about IELTS speaking, how to what, how to get ourselves well prepared for IELTS speaking. All right. Thank you very much. I can see your feedback. I like the feedback. All right. Somebody says right on. Okay. So 4 criteria that will be used to what? To assess your speaking. Fluency, grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation. Now, remember I said earlier on that word, you should get somebody to practice with. Now, when you are practicing with somebody and somebody is practicing with you, the two of you will use these 4 criteria to assess yourselves. And I want you to pay particular attention to fluency and grammar. So you are practicing with somebody, you ask the person a question, the person answers. I want you to listen to the person's grammar, past tense, tenses generally, singular plural words, prepositions, conjunctions. I want you to listen closely and try and pick errors, pick mistakes, and tell the person that, okay, I think this is what you should have said. I think this is I think there's a better way to say this thing. So you give the person helpful feedback. So you use these 4 criteria to assess the person, especially fluency, grammar, and vocabulary. Okay? In some cases, pronunciation might be an issue. Now, some people will say, what of my accent? My accent is African. I am Igbo. I am Yoruba. I am Hausa. My English has strong African Yoruba or Igbo accent. What do I do about that? Well, really, accent will not affect your score if it doesn't affect your pronunciation. Okay? So the thing is this, pronounce your words slowly. At the same time, you don't want to be too slow. You can see that as I'm talking now, I am not too slow and I am not too fast. So this is just a moderate pace. You understand now? If you pronounce your words, if you speak with a moderate pace, just like I'm doing now, then the issue of accent will not really be a problem. The person will hear you clearly. And I mean, your score in terms of pronunciation will not be affected. Okay? So, these 4 criteria are very, very important. And you need to make sure that you do well with these 4 aspects. Now, let's look at the 3 parts of IELTS speaking. Let's take them one by one. Let's take them one by one. We're going to start with part 1. So like I said earlier on, there is a marker book. This is what the marker book looks like. Okay? It has a compilation of different questions that examiners ask students during IELTS speaking. So we have part 1 questions, we have part 2 questions, and we have part 3 questions. Let me show you the part 1 questions. Okay? So part 1 questions basically are questions about you, questions about what you do, questions about where you live, questions about where you work, your house, your hobbies, okay, your interests, your school, the school that you attended, your primary school, your secondary school, okay, your friends. Those are the things that you're going to say in part 1. So you can see speaking part 1, intro questions. Intro means introduction questions. So look at it. The first thing the examiner will ask you is your name, your full name. Okay, so what is your full name? Now, some people say, some people have asked me this question. Will say, should we say my names are? No, no, no. You don't say your names are. You have just one name. That one name has three parts: first name, middle name, and last name. By the way, your last name is your surname. Some people don't know that their last name is their surname. Your last name is your surname. Okay, so just say my name is, and then mention your name. It's not, this thing is not complicated. If you are traveling and you meet a new friend and the person asks you what's your name, will you be complicating things? Just talk to the person like the person is your friend. Just feel free. My name is this. My name is Bola Tinubu. My name is Tayo Morola. My name is Kunle Gabriel. My name is Chidima Okoro. My name is Godwin Osazua. My name is Peace Daka. Just mention your name. It's not complicated. Don't complicate it. You don't need to say my names are, it's not necessary. Okay? So tell the examiner your name. The examiner will ask you, what should I call you? All right, you can call me this. You can call me that. You can call me Coach. You can call me Precious. You can call me Teresa. You can call me Bianca. And then the examiner will ask you to see your ID. So you show the examiner your ID, it confirms your name, it confirms your face. All right. And then the examiner will move on to the next part of the interview, still on part one. So the next thing the examiner will most likely ask you is, are you a student or do you work? Instead, the examiner will ask you, are you a student or do you work? Or the examiner will ask you, where do you live? Is that one of those two things? Mostly it's going to be, are you a student or do you work? So if you work, okay, if you work, the examiner will ask you, okay, what do you do? What do you do? Okay, I am a nurse. I work at Lagos General Hospital, Ikeja General Hospital, and I've been working there for the past 16 years. I work in the pediatrics unit. Pediatrics unit. I work in the pediatrics unit of the hospital. So I gave further answers. I didn't just say I work at the Lagos State General Hospital. I mentioned how long I've been working there, and I mentioned the unit where I work. So, like I said, fluency, talk at length. Okay, look at another question here. Do you like your job? Okay, so I said, this person in this book, they wrote, yes, I like my job. Remember the answer I gave earlier on? You see that my own answer is even more developed than the answer in this book. My point is this: give well-developed answers. Well-developed answers. Okay? Don't just give short answers. No. Look at this number 4. Is it very interesting? Yes, it is very interesting. But you see that they did not give further answers. Don't do that. Tell the examiner why it is interesting. Okay? Or you can mention one or two things that happened recently that sound interesting. Okay? So give detail. Give detailed answers. Okay? So if you are working, the examiner will ask you, what subject are you studying, or what are you studying in the university? Okay? Somebody says, okay, I've just graduated. I have not started working. What should I say? Just say it like that. Well, I just graduated. I completed my studies 2 months ago, and I am currently in search of a job. But meanwhile, I'm studying. I'm just doing some personal reading and research just to build up my knowledge base. So I'm not particularly idle in that sense. So can you see, I didn't say I am a student. I didn't say I'm working. I told the examiner what I'm doing currently. You understand? So we must give what? Give detailed responses whenever we get questions. So somebody is studying, the examiner will say, okay, what course are you studying? Do you like that course? Why did you choose that course? What inspired you to choose that course? So you give answers to those questions. That's part one. All these are part one questions. So I hope you are getting my point. Accommodation. Part one questions can also address where you live. Where do you live? Look at it here. Do you live in a house or a flat? Do you live in a house or a flat? Somebody says, what is the difference between house and flat? Okay, so I would like to take you to Google. Let's go to Google and check so that you guys will understand when we say house and flat, what do we mean? Or different, or let's just put it this way, different types of houses, so that you will know the kind of house that you live in and you know what to say in case the examiner asks you, what kind of house do you live in? So I'm just going to type the question inside Google. Difference between house and flat. Let's just use those words that they used in that marker book. Difference between house and flat. So I'm going to click on images. I want to see the images that they will give me. Very good. I like this. Look at this one here. Look at this one here where you have a man standing. Let me just click on it. All right. Okay, just give me some seconds. It's bringing out something that's something that I'm wondering how. All right. So look at this this picture here now. House versus flat. What is the idea that you can get here? The idea is that what? When it comes to house, it's like think of it, think of what we call duplex in Nigeria. Duplex. That means it's a story building. And then you and your family are the only ones living in that entire building. That's what they call house. Okay? Now, when it comes to flats, a flat could be a two-story building, a three-story building. Okay? What we have on this chart, on this diagram now is a three-story building. It has 3 floors. It has 4 floors. A three-story building has 4 floors. Ground floor is floor 1, the first floor, the second floor, and then the third floor. And then something here that looks like a penthouse, maybe. So a flat is one of the apartments in a multi-story building. So somebody is living in one flat or one apartment, another person lives in another apartment, another person lives in another apartment. So you can have a building that has maybe 10 flats or 10 apartments. Okay, so that's what they call flats. We can also say flat is maybe apartment. Okay, hope you are getting my point. If you are following, if you are getting my point, let me know. Let me see who understands. If you understand what I just explained now about house and flat, let me know. Type in the chat box, I understand. I want you to type the type of building that you live in. I live in a house. I live in a flat. Let me know. Let me know where, let me see whether you guys are with me. Type the type of building that you live in. I live in a flat. I live in a house. I live in, let me know, based on what I've just said now. Okay, I can see different responses. Very good. I live, please don't misspell your words. Oh. Live is L-I-V-E. That's where you reside in. L-I-V-E is live. L-E-A-V is for something else. L-E-A-V means you move away from a place. Because I see some people, I noticed that some people make mistakes with the spelling of those 2 words. So please don't make that mistake when it comes to IELTS writing. So let's go back to our marker book. So look at the next question. The person now says, describe it a little bit. So you describe your house. So when it comes to describing your house, tell us the color of your house. Tell us whether the house has a fence. Tell us the color of the fence, the color of the gates. So we talk about colors. Talk about the number of rooms. Talk about the windows. Do you understand? Tell us the size of the rooms. Tell us whether you have neighbors in the same compound, whether you have neighbors or whether you are the only one that lives in the whole compound in your house, in the whole, I mean, whether your house is the only house in the entire compound. So describe it a little. Okay? Most times you might not get this number 2 question, because for me, for someone like me now, if you tell me, tell us about your house, where do you live? I'll answer number 1 and I'll describe it. I'll tell you I live in a flat and I'll go ahead and describe it. So I'll cover question 1 and 2 in one, I mean, after getting that first question. Tell us about your house. That's part of what? Fluency and what? Coherence. Look at number 3. What is your favorite room in your house? I will tell the examiner what my favorite room is, and I'll go ahead and tell the examiner why it is my favorite room. Why is it my favorite room? That's fluency and coherence. So these are part 1 questions. There are so many part 1 questions, so many of them. Hometown. Hometown basically refers to, can be any of 3 things. So pick any of these 3 and talk about any of these 3 as your hometown. When they ask you where is your hometown, you can talk about the place where you currently live. If you are living in Lagos now, and you have been living in Lagos for at least 5 years, just treat Lagos as your hometown, because, I mean, you don't know the next question. The person can say, describe your hometown a little bit. So pick a place you are familiar with. So in talking about your hometown, what should you do? Pick a place that you are familiar with. Number 1, talk about the place where you are living in, the town, the city, the town that you are living in currently. Or talk about the place where you were born. Okay? Or talk about the place where you grew up in. So some people are currently living in, let's say, maybe Uyo. Uyo is a town in Nigeria. It's a city. Some people will say it's a city. Uyo is a city in Nigeria. It's in Akwa Ibom State. Okay? So somebody is living in Uyo, but the person was born in Calabar. And when after 1 year or 2 years of living in Calabar as a baby, the person's parents moved to Port Harcourt, and the person grew up in Port Harcourt. So that person has 3 options. The person can talk about Calabar, where he or she was born. The person can talk about Port Harcourt, where he or she grew up in, or he can talk about Uyo, the place where he's living in currently. Which one should he or she pick? He should pick the place that he's familiar with. That's the thing. Pick the one that you are very, very, that's why preparation is important. These are things that you prepare for before the exam day. If 50 people ask you this question, where is your what? Tell us about your hometown. Your answer should be the same. You don't need to vary the answer. Don't bother varying it. Same thing. My hometown is XYZ, and it is a beautiful town. Tell us about the place. So you need to do some research about your hometown now, so that you can have a lot of things to say if they ask you questions about your hometown. Okay? Do you like your hometown? Do you like living there? Would you say it's an interesting place? These are questions that you need to get yourself prepared for. And I want you to notice that in this book, they have model answers. These answers are not for you to cram them. You are not to cram these answers. By the way, I hope you know that the examiners, IELTS examiners, know about this marker book. They know the answers there. So if you are giving them these answers, you have crammed these answers, you are giving them, they are going to scatter things for you, and you are going to be shocked. So don't bother cramming these answers. These answers are designed to be a guide, okay, for you, to give you an idea of, okay, these are things that you can start with. Notice what I said. These are things that you can start with. You should develop your answers, your responses further. Okay, hope you get my point. Hometown. Another question, making friends. Another question, good view. What is your favorite place? Would you take photos when you see a good view? Have you seen an unforgettable or beautiful scenery? Laughing, questions about laughing, questions about perfume, questions about coins, questions about bikes. So you have lots of part 1 questions in this book. These are questions that will help you to get prepared. So these are questions that will help you to get prepared, questions that you will use questions that you will use in practicing with your study partner, with your IELTS study partner. Part 1 questions. So the part 1 of your speaking should not last longer than 5 minutes, max 5 minutes. And after part 1, the examiner will move on to part 2. So during part 2, the examiner will give you a piece of paper or a card that contains a couple of questions. Let me show you examples of part 2 from this marker book. Let me go to the beginning. Part 2 questions. So look at part 2 question here. Look at the part 2 question here. Describe a person that you know who has chosen a career in the medical field. So this is what you are going to see. Okay, these part 2 questions, these are the things you will see. You should tell us who this person is, what this person does, why he or she chose this career, and explain how you feel about him or her. Can you see? 4 questions. Part 2 questions. Okay, so there are 4 major types of part 2 questions. How many? 4 major types of part 2 questions. Let me give you the 4 major types of part 2 questions. Let me give you the 4 major types of part 2 questions. 4 types of part 2 questions. Number 1 is what we call questions about person, or let me put it this way, person questions. They will ask you to talk about the person. Number 2 is place question. Number 3 is event question. Okay? Event questions. And then number 4 is what? Object question. Okay? These are the 4 types of what? 4 types of part 2 questions in IELTS speaking. They can ask you to talk about a person. They can ask you to talk about a place. They can ask you to talk about an event, or they can ask you to talk about an object or an item. You understand? So the first question I showed you earlier on is about a person. That question says a person in the medical field. Let me show you that question again. So you see, this is a person question. Describe a person that you know. Person question. Person question. So what is the major issue about person questions? Number 1, mention the person's name. Some people will answer questions about this. Answer questions about a person, and they will not mention the person's name. That's wrong. Number 1, it is wrong. Number 2, it's going to affect your fluency score. So mention the person's name. Tell us how you are related to the person, how the person is related to you. The person is your brother, your sister, your uncle, your aunt, your nephew, your grandfather, your colleague, your neighbor, a governor, a footballer, a celebrity. If you say somebody is a celebrity, tell us which type of celebrity. Is it entertainment celebrity, or is it political celebrity? A politician? Most politicians, or let me not say most, many politicians are celebrities, especially in Nigeria now. So tell us how you know, how you are connected to the person, especially if the person is a relative or maybe a colleague or a neighbor. Tell us. Okay? So those things are important when it comes to person question. Let's look for other question types. Look at number 2. Describe a person who likes to read a lot. This is another person question. A person question. Let's look at number 3. Describe a time when you lost an important and valuable item. Now, this question is a combination of 2 question types. It's a combination of object question and event question. So we need to look at the details. The first one says when and where it happened. In other words, when did you lose that item? Where did it happen? That's what? Event. What it was. Now, talk about the object. How important and valuable is it? That object. Look at the next one. How did you lose it? You are talking about the event. Explain how you felt. You are talking about the event. So this number 3 is a combination of what? Event and what? Item, or event and object. Let's look at another one. Number 4, describe a time when you answered a phone call from someone you didn't know in a public place. This is a word. What kind of question is this? This is an event question. Event. So this is the thing about event question. Always tell us the day that it happened, the day or the week. Sometimes you will not be able to remember the specific day, but you can tell us that it happened 4 weeks ago, 4 months ago, 2 years ago. Refer to a specific time in the past. You understand my point? Events. So when it comes to events, tell us when it happened. Tell us where it happened. You understand now? Tell us what was going on when that thing happened. What was going on when that thing happened? These are things that you can use to build up your responses. One of the things with part 2 speaking is that you are going to talk for 2 minutes. Remember what I said earlier on that word? You are going to talk for part 2. You are going to talk for 2 minutes. The examiner will give you 1 minute to prepare. They will give you 1 minute to prepare. And then after 1 minute, they will ask you to start talking. So you must be ready to talk for 2 minutes. If you stop after 1 minute, 30 seconds, it's going to affect your fluency score. It's going to reduce your fluency score. So you must talk for 2 minutes. The rule I give is that talk until the examiner interrupts you. That's the idea. You understand? So when you are practicing with your colleague or somebody, that person should be timing you. And then once you have spoken for 2 minutes, the person should feel free to interrupt you at any time. You understand? And how do you talk at length for part 2 of speaking? That's what I'm giving you as a guide. For person question, mention the name of the person, describe how you are related with the person, or tell us how you knew the person before you now start addressing other questions on the question paper. Somebody says, will they give us that paper to hold when we are talking? Yes, they will give you. They will give you another paper to write something down. During that 1 minute, remember I said that they will give you 1 minute to prepare. During that 1 minute preparation time, you are supposed to write some things down. So, for example, now this question now, let's say they give me this question in the exam hall. I'm going to write when, 4 weeks ago, where? Lagos Park. I was traveling to Lagos Park. I'll just write Lagos Park. Who called you? One man called Mr. Mohammed called me. What he said, he was asking me, he was speaking in Hausa. He was speaking in Hausa. So I wasn't understanding what he was saying. Okay? So I'll just write it there. Speaking in Hausa. How you corresponded. I told him I wasn't, so I will now talk about how I corresponded. I told him I didn't understand, and then explain how I felt, and then I will describe how I felt about it. Initially, I was scared, but after a while, I relaxed myself, and I just started thinking about the whole scenario. So I will write things down on that paper. Okay? Some people don't write down. Ladies and gentlemen, whenever you are practicing with your study partner and you are practicing part 2, write things down. It's extremely important. I always say that what you do during your practice is what you will do on the exam day. If you are in the habit of not writing things down during your practice, on the exam day, you will not have anything to write. That's how it will happen. It's not a prayer. It's not a course. It's how you have programmed yourself to do things. You will not have stuff to write down. But if you have practiced writing things down in preparation for your part 2, on the exam day, writing things down will not be a problem. Ideas will come. So spend that 1 minute, use that 1 minute judiciously to write things down. And then when the 2-minute period starts, use what you have written down to talk. As a matter of fact, if you are talking from that paper, as you are talking, some extra ideas will even come to your mind. So the issue of not having something to say during part 2 cannot even come up at all. If you have written things down, that issue will not come up. You will always have something to say. Always. It's guaranteed, 100%. Hope you get my point. So part 2, questions. Make sure you maximize that 1 minute period that they will give you to write things down. Look at another question here. Describe your favorite food at a traditional festival or special event in your country. The focus of this question is the food. So that means this question is a what? Is an object question or item question. What it is, at which festival do you eat it? How it is made. Explain why you like it. So I will write down my ideas for these questions and then I will answer it. Okay? Now, somebody says, okay, answer this question. Let us see how you will answer it. All right? So I'm going to set my timer now. Okay? I'm going to set my timer now for 1 minute to prepare for this particular question. And then after 1 minute, I will start talking. I'm going to type my ideas on the screen here for you to see. I'm going to type my ideas on the screen here for you to see. Okay, so I've set my timer now. Now, let me type out my ideas and then I will start talking once the timer rings. So, amala. That food I want to talk about is a food called amala. Amala and abula. They eat it during Ileya. Okay? Amala plus goat meat. How it is made? Yam flour plus hot water. Vegetable, beans soup. Okay, that's what I'll talk about. Explain why you like it. Hot, delicious, makes you okay, holds your stomach for long. Can you see my ideas? I already have plenty ideas, and the 1 minute alarm has not yet. Oh, 1 minute has passed. Oh, interesting. Okay, let me start now. I didn't set my alarm correctly. Interesting. Anyhow, so let me start my speech now. So I have 2 minutes. 2 minutes. I was wondering. I didn't set this alarm correctly. So let me set my alarm for 2 minutes now. And then I will answer this question. All right. Thank you very much. You asked me to talk about my favorite food at a traditional festival or special event in my country. So there is a festival, a religious festival that we celebrate every year in my country. It's called Ileya Festival. It's an Islamic festival to mark a Muslim event, an Islamic event. I have a couple of Muslim relatives. So we usually go to their house to enjoy this delicacy. The name of the food in local language is amala. Amala is made from yam flour. And so what you basically do is that the yam is ground. You ground, they will grind the yam into a fine powder, and then they will use it to prepare this local dish called amala. And then there's a soup that we eat it along with. It's called abula. So that soup is a combination of green vegetables with a soup made from beans. And then the best protein to eat it with is goat meat. Some people use cow meat, some people use turkey, but I personally prefer to eat it with goat meat. And I like this meal because when you eat it hot, it's very, very delicious. You are going to enjoy every bit of, it. You are practically going to, and some people eat it with spoon or fork. I prefer to eat it with my bare hand. So I wash my hands in water with soap and water to make sure my hands are clean. And then I eat and I enjoy every bit of it. I can take it with cold Coca-Cola or maybe cold water, but then it makes me feel full and it holds my stomach for long. So that's my time is up. The alarm is ringing. So you see that I talked basically from my notes, from my points that I jotted down. And I mentioned almost everything on this list. And I addressed the question. I talked about what it is, the festival. I talked about how it is made. I said it is made from what? From yam flour. Okay? And then I explained why I liked it. So, ladies and gentlemen, the importance of talking at length, the importance of preparing your notes, jotting things down cannot be overemphasized. You understand my point now? You must what? Write things down for your part 2. And then after part 2, the next part is the part 3. What happens during part 3? Part 3 is the point where you discuss with the examiner. The examiner will ask you questions about what? About something that you talked about in part 2. So let's look at this one now. Here in this part 2, we talked about our favorite food. We talked about our what? Favorite food. Let's check out the part 3. Inside this marker book, you will also see part 3. So after every part 2 question in the marker book, you are going to see the part 3 questions for that particular part 2 question. So look at this one now. This part 2 question is about food. Look at the part 3 question. The first one says, is it bad behavior for people to look at their phones during a meal? Is it a bad behavior? So you think for 5 seconds, 3 to 5 seconds, and then you answer. Well, I would say it's a bad behavior, especially if you have other people with you on the table eating together. The ideal thing is either you stay quiet during the meal or you engage other people in conversation. So that's my response to the question. It's a bad thing, and I gave my reasons. You understand? I talked in detail. So part 3 questions are connected to part 2 questions. Now look at the second one. Why do people like to have a big meal at traditional festivals or big events? Why? Why do people like to have a big meal? So I'll give my answer. Give 2 or 3 reasons why people like to have a big meal. Number 3, do most people prefer vegetables bought from the supermarket or grown at home? I'll pick one. Yes, they prefer to buy it from supermarket. Okay? Or they prefer to grow it at home. I'll give my reasons why they prefer one over the other. I'll give my reasons. Number 4, are there any difficulties when people grow plants in cities? So you see, all these things is connecting to what? The issue of food. Now, it's not talking about what? Growing your crops. Preparing food is moving away from food now, moving to what? Farming. So, part 3 questions. You see that these questions in part 3, they are a little bit more difficult. They are more technical. They require higher level of thinking. And that's how you are going to, that's what part 3 is about. And that is why it is important to get yourself well prepared for this exam by practicing with people. Okay? So that you can become familiar with as many questions as possible. Okay? So back to our gist. Part 1 question. What happens during part 1 question? General discussions, interaction, introduction. That's what you get in part 1. Part 2, we are going to give a speech for 2 minutes, okay, on a topic that the examiner will give you. And then part 3 is where you will now discuss. The examiner will ask you questions based on 1 or 2 things that you mentioned while answering your part 2 questions. So these are the things that you are going to see when it comes to what? When it comes to IELTS speaking. I hope you get my point so far. Let me know if you are still with me. Hope you understand my point so far. Let me see your response. If you understand my point so far, let me see your response. Let me see your feedback. Who is with me? Who is still with me? Who is still with me? Anybody? Anybody? Let me know whether you are still with me. All right. Very good. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So I'm going to wrap it up on this note. What are the things that we can do? Okay? What are the things that we can do to get ourselves well prepared for IELTS speaking? What are the things that you can do? What are the things that I can do? What are the things that you can do to get yourself well prepared for IELTS speaking? I'm going to give you 8 things. I mentioned one of them already. So I'm going to give you the remaining items that you need to, things that you need to do to get yourself well prepared for your IELTS speaking. Number 1, let me type it out. Number 1 is towards, I already talked about this earlier on. Practice with the marker speaking book and get valuable feedback and correction. Okay? Practice with the word, with the marker speaking book. Practice with someone who has done IELTS and who got a good score in speaking. Okay? Or practice or with someone who is also preparing to take the tests. So number 1 is what? Practice. Very, very important. Number 2, study the answers in the marker book and use them as a guide for developing your own unique answers to questions. Okay? Notice I did not say study the answers in the marker book and cram them. And that's not what I said. Please, use them as a guide for developing your own word, for developing your own unique answers. Hope you get my point now. That is number 2. Number 3 is to what? Study speaking, IELTS speaking videos. Let me put it this way. Watch and study IELTS speaking videos on IDP YouTube page and British Council YouTube page. Okay, I'm going to share the link to the YouTube page of IDP and British Council with you so that you can watch their speaking videos, the speaking practices that they do. Sometimes they do speaking seminars also for people. I will also share the link to download the marker book with you so that you can download it and practice with it. So watch speaking videos. You are going to see different band scores from these speaking videos. You are going to see some of those videos that are going to give you analysis of the mistakes that some of those candidates made. And then you will learn. Those are things that will also help you to improve your work, to improve your speaking skills and your speaking scores. Hope you get my point now. Then use, another thing I recommend is what? Use IELTS listening to boost your speaking skills. Okay? Use IELTS listening. So this is what I mean. Whenever you are doing IELTS listening, you are going to notice that there's a way these guys talk. So as much as possible, you want to tailor your speaking after that. You want to pattern your speaking after those people. It's not by force to do it, but try your best. That's why this thing I'm saying now is something that will happen unconsciously. If you have noticed, you are going to notice that if you hang around somebody very often, you eventually start saying some of the things that that person says. You start talking the way they talk most times. Why? That person is rubbing off on you. And that's the idea behind practicing a lot of IELTS speaking. When you practice a lot of IELTS speaking, you eventually get to a point where you start talking like them. You start talking like them. So that's why I say it's very important that you do lots of listening practices. And after every practice, take time to do what? Take time to do self-correction. It's also that's also going to work. It's also going to help. Okay. Number 5 is to what? Record yourself, your speaking responses. Record your speaking responses and listen to it after some days to make corrections or think or self-reflect on your response. So somebody does a recording of a part 2 answer now, you record it in your phone and then you just keep it. Then maybe after 4 or 5 days, come back to that recording and play it. And then take time to think about your response to that question. Reflect on it and ask yourself, okay, what else could I have said? What else could I have added? What is wrong with this thing that I said? How could I have improved on it? So that's what I call what? Self-reflecting on your responses. That's another thing that you can do to what? To improve your speaking skills. Okay? Number 6, practice generating ideas and responses to IELTS speaking questions, especially part 3 questions. If you notice, you're going to see that those part 3 questions, like the ones I showed you earlier on, those questions are high-level questions. So sometimes you can just go through part 3 questions and just practice generating ideas for them. When I say generating ideas, you look at the question and then you think about the question. At this stage, before the exam day, today now, some of you are not in the exam hall now. So what I mean is that what? You go to the part 3 question and look at the question and then you write down responses to that question. Write it down. Don't just think. By the way, I hope you know that writing is one of the powerful ways to register things in your brain. If you just think about something and then you don't write it down, it's likely that you forget that thing later. But if you write that thing down, the likelihood of forgetting will be reduced. It's more likely that you will remember that thing later. So you take the part 3 questions and then you write down some responses to those questions. That's what I mean by what? Generating ideas and responses for speaking questions. You understand now? It's part of the things that will help you to become well prepared for your what? For your IELTS speaking. So that if somebody now asks you that same question after some time, you know that, I've seen this question before, I prepared for it. You just give that a response that you prepared. You just give that response that you prepared. And then when you after generating ideas and responses, compare your own response with the response that is in this marker book. And then you can learn 1 or 2 extra ideas from the marker book. That's part of what? Part of your preparation. That's part of your preparation. Hope you get my point now. So practice generating ideas. Okay? Number 7, I talked about this earlier on. Do lots of grammar and vocabulary quizzes to boost, so as to boost your what? Your grammar and vocabulary. Okay? Very, very important. To boost your grammar, you have to expose yourself to lots of quizzes. There's a PDF file that has a list of about 100 grammar and vocabulary quizzes. I shared it already. I will share it again. Do those quizzes. Those quizzes will help your IELTS let the other aspect. Okay? As you are practicing your IELTS speaking, do not neglect IELTS reading. As you are practicing your IELTS speaking, do not neglect IELTS listening. Do not neglect IELTS writing. They are all equally important. As a matter of fact, IELTS listening IELTS speaking is easy to handle if you work on the remaining 3 aspects. IELTS speaking will be very easy to handle if you work on the remaining aspects. Because I've seen some people, they major on IELTS speaking and they neglect the others. It should be the other way around. You should focus more. In other words, spend 85% of your time on listening, reading, and writing, and 15% on speaking. In fact, if possible, 90% of your time on listening, reading, and writing. You understand? So that what? So that you be sure that those other aspects will not suffer, because those other aspects are the aspect that people get low scores in, especially reading and writing. So please don't neglect those other aspects. Okay? So ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to wrap it up on that note for IELTS speaking. So like I said, get somebody to practice your IELTS speaking with. Chat in the group, just drop a message in the group and announce that, okay, I would like to have a speaking partner. If you are preparing for your exam, you are taking your exam on, mention the date or the month, and then and if anybody responds, you can then chat with them privately, and then you guys can schedule a time when you guys will be practicing you'll be doing your speaking practice. I hope you get my point. All right, so any questions? I don't know if anybody has any question. If you have any question, please drop your question in the chat, in the Zoom chat. Let me know if you have any question. Any questions? Any question? Any questions? Who has questions? No question. Okay. If there are no questions, then I guess I can wrap it up on that note. Somebody said, is apartments and flats the same? Yes, they are the same. Answer is yes. Okay. Any other question? Any other question? Who has any other question? Any other question? Somebody said, you said that you are going to pick 2 or 3 people for interview after the class. Okay, so let's interview 2 or 3 people. Who wants to be interviewed? I'll just do 2 people. Time is gone already. Let me just do interview for 2 people. Peace. Okay, let's interview Peace. Peace, unmute yourself. Peace, unmute yourself. Can you hear me?
Hello, sir. Yes, I'm hearing you.
You speak out though.
I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you.
Now I'm hearing you. So, very good. Hold on, I'm coming over. Somebody said in speaking,
Okay.
are you going to be realistic? I don't know. In the criteria I gave you, I did not write realistic there. So I don't know what you mean by realistic. If you like 10 lies, nobody cares whether you are lying. Just make sure that you are coherent in your lies. Your lies must be coherent. Your lies must be coherent. Okay, somebody said in the 3 parts, will you be giving paper to jot? You are not jotting for the 3 parts now. You're only jotting for part 2. You're only going to be jotting for part 2. So you're only giving paper for part 2. All right, so Peace, you're welcome to this interview session. What do you do? Are you a student or do you work?
I work, sir. I work as a nurse.
Okay, so how long have you been working as a nurse?
I work as a nurse for the past 5 years.
Come again. How long have you been working as a nurse?
I work for the past 5 years.
I have been working. You understand?
I've been working for the
Are you still working as a nurse?
Yes, sir. I'm still practicing nurse.
So you should say, I have been working as a nurse for the past 5 years. Since you are still working as a nurse, that's how you should say it. But assuming you are no longer working as a nurse, then you can say that I worked as a nurse for 5 years. Hope you understand my explanation.
Yes, sir.
That's proper grammar, proper tenses, the right tense. Okay? So tell me, what do you like about being a nurse? What do you like about being a nurse?
I love being a nurse. Since when I was a child, I have a passion for it because I have much interest and caring for humanity as a large. So I love caring for patients. I love taking care of them. I love to give them a holistic care.
Okay. So what do you find most challenging about being a nurse?
Mostly because I have a passion in nursing aspects. The only thing I have a challenge in is the timing because you have to work for straight 12 hours or 13 hours standing on your feet with only 1 hour off for you to go and relax. So that is the only place I find challenging.
Okay. That is the only thing you find challenging. All right. So what is your work schedule like? In a typical day, what is your work schedule like? What do you do in the morning and then in the afternoon and then in the evening? How does your day go?
Mostly I run a shift because I work with the MSF organization. So I run a shift, which the morning duty start from 6 till from 8 till 6 p.m. And if I'm going for night duty, I usually going to go to work by 6 p.m. Then I'll close 8 a.m. in the morning. So whenever I'm not at work, or I'll have 2 days off after 4 days of shifts. So then I will have time for my family, and then I'll go for a picnic or a place that I'll clear myself for.
Okay. Do you watch television?
Yes, I watch television, but I'm not a good fan of it.
Okay. So what do you do during your free time?
During my free time, I love cooking. I'm a registered caterer too, so I love cooking. I cook varieties of dishes. Most of my children are girls, so I teach them how to cook different kind of meals.
Okay. Different kinds of meals. All right. Let's talk about your secondary school days. Where did you go to high school? Which school did you go to which high school did you attend as a teenager?
Okay, as a teenager, I schooled at a Harmony High School, which is here in Bauchi. Bauchi State is a missionary school, and then it's basically Christians that are in the school. They teach us good morals, and then they build our vocabularies. They teach us very well. They make sure that our foundations are strong, and then they teach us how to communicate with each other and also be polite in the way we handle things.
All right. Please, what is the past tense of teach?
Teach.
Do you know
Is
the
it
past tense of teach?
is it teach?
Teach,
We
T-E-A-C-H.
teach.
What is the past tense?
Okay, okay. Touch. They
Taught.
taught us.
So you say
Yes,
they taught us good morals. You understand?
yes, sir.
So that's, you are referring to your secondary school. They taught us good
Yeah.
morals. So take note of that. Now, so who was your
Okay.
favorite? Who was your best friend? Did you have best friend? Did you have best friend when you were in secondary school?
Yes, I have a best friend and
You
she's
said what? Come
Anachi.
again.
Yes, I have a best friend and she's
You
Anachi
have
Arkila.
Is it have?
I,
Eh?
I have. Oh,
H
I
A.
had.
Spell it.
I had.
Spell it. Spell it.
HAD. HAD.
A-D. Yes, I had. Very good, because that's past tense. We are talking about your. So you see what I'm doing for you now? Whenever the examiner
Yes.
asks you a question and he sees a mistake, the examiner will now ask you more questions to confirm that mistake, that you are not good in that area. And if you keep
Okay.
on making mistakes in that area, your score will now be coming down and coming down and coming down.
Wow.
So you see why you need to do, you need to be sure of your tenses and you make sure that you are not, repeating the same mistakes over and over and. So you see these
Okay,
mistakes
sir.
I've brought up now in your responses. I'm seeing that you are making mistakes with tenses, especially past tense. So if you get somebody to practice with, you tell the person to listen for past tense errors. You tell the person that the person should ask you questions about the past,
Okay, sir.
about the things that you have done in the past, about the events that happened in your life in the past, things that will involve the use of past tense so that you can become fluent in using past tense correctly. I hope you get my
All
point.
right, sir. Yes,
Right.
sir.
Okay, so let's talk about dressing. What kind of dressing styles are common in your town?
In my town, people dressed mostly because we have the religion that are common in my town are Hausas. Hausa, little of them, or little of us are Christians. So we usually used to dress in attires, in that is wrappers. So with veil, we veil ourselves. So that is the most common dressing that is running in my area.
Okay, so another correction there. You said the most common, the religions that are common. They are your religions. It's plural. You said religions. But when you now talk, you now said Hausa. That's the only thing I heard. I was expecting to hear 2 or 3 things.
I say Hausa and Christian.
Oh, Hausa and Christian. Okay, Hausa and Christian. Now, correction number 2. Hausa is not a religion now. How is Hausa a religion?
Okay, Muslims.
Muslim. Muslim. And then we don't particularly say Muslim is the religion. The one we call the religion is Islam. You say the religion is Islam, and then there's Christianity and there's Islam. So somebody who practices Islam is a what? Is a Muslim. Do you understand?
Okay.
This is
Yes,
this
sir.
is this is vocabulary. So if you say Hausa to the examiner will say your vocabulary is poor. But the correct word is what? The correct word is what? Islam. So the
Islam.
religions that are common in my town are Islam and Christianity. Some people will even say Islam and Christian. Christian is not the religion. Christianity is the religion. Do you understand now? So
Okay.
Islam and Christianity. And they both have similar patterns of dressing that involves wearing long gowns, long robes. And then I expect you to talk about things like hijab. Is that not part of what they wear for Islam?
Yes, and Likap.
So you talk about things like that. So if you are fortunate to have somebody who is a Muslim interview you and you don't mention things like that, it's going to affect your score. Do you
Wow.
understand? So these are things you need to what? Take note of and make sure you address in detail. All right. I think I'll pause here for you, Peace. So Peace, I'm going
All
to
right,
give
thank you,
you
sir.
a task to do so that whenever you are practicing with your partner, these are things you need to what? Incorporate when you're answering. Go and write out 5 things that you like about your job.
Okay.
5 things. Because when I asked you that question, your answer that you gave was not really, really well developed. You did not demonstrate good vocabulary. You did not demonstrate fluency. You just gave me one off the top of your head answer. So I guess it's because you are not prepared. So go and write, because it's a common thing. They will ask you. 80% of the time they ask people, do you like your job? Or they will say, what do you like about your job? So go and write out 5 things that you like about think about it, think very well. You can do research and find out good things about nursing. You can just take 3 or 4 of them and use them as your own reason why you like nursing. So 5 reasons, 5 things that you like about your job. just to develop
Okay.
a response for a question like that. Okay? All right, let
Okay,
me take
sir.
another person. Who else wants to be interviewed? Let me take one more person. Who else wants to be interviewed? Somebody said, I am scared of failing this speaking. Why are you scared of failing speaking? There's no reason to be scared now. Mimi. Which Mimi is this Mimi now? There are two Mimi on my there are two Mimi on my DM. Is it the Mimi with picture or the Mimi without picture? Which Mimi? The Mimi with picture, the Mimi without picture. Which of the Mimi? The Mimi without picture. Okay. The Mimi without picture. Mimi without picture. Unmute yourself.
Hello.
Yeah, this is Mimi without picture. How are you today?
I'm very fine, thanks. What about you?
I'm doing well. You are doing like a candidate. What about you? Okay. All right. So Mimi, let's give you some questions. Let's know how prepared you are. I'm coming. Just give me some seconds. I need to plug my laptop.
Okay.
Okay. Are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here.
All right. So, Mimi, you're welcome to this interview session. Tell me,
Thank
what
you.
do you do? Are you a student or do you work?
I currently work as an healthcare assistant.
Healthcare assistant. Wow, that's good. So, how are you finding the job? Are you enjoying the job?
Yes, I'm enjoying my job so far,
All
though
right.
it
How
has its
long?
own challenges.
It has its own challenges. What are the challenges that you have faced so far?
Okay, some of the challenges about my job is that because I deal directly with the patients, this patient gets to stay with us for a very long time. And I think because of that, they feel so comfortable, they don't want to go back home. So towards the end of their discharge, most of them they come up with lies. They can just lie on your head, things you've not done, you know. Like they can accuse you wrongly that you took their personal items just to delay the admission discharge process. When they do this, they get to stay longer with us. And another challenges I do face with my job is most patient relatives too. They can just maybe come accuse, still the same with everything, accusation, because they don't want this patient to be discharged, like I said, to go back home on time. They can just come fabricate stories against you, and you know just to cause an investigation panel on your behalf, and so their own patients can stay longer with us.
Mm.
And the second challenge is too about my job is that most of the times it's very difficult to communicate with our patient, because where I work with patients who have stroke. So this stroke have affected their speech, so it's very difficult providing person-centered care according to what the patient wants, because it's like an also getting information from my patients. Most of the times, sometimes I feel very lucky to work with patients who are able to write, so
All right.
they
All right.
sketch what they want.
Thank
Yes, those are
you.
the challenges so far. Yeah,
Thank you
thank you.
very much. Let me give you a part two question. I'll give you a part two question now. I want you to
Okay.
give a short speech based on the topic. I'll give you 1 minute to prepare. And
Okay, let me just
make,
get my pen. Okay.
make sure you write something down during that 1 minute period. After 1 minute,
Okay.
I'll ask you to start talking. So I'm sharing the question on the screen now. Can you see the screen?
Okay.
All right. So you have 1 minute to prepare. After 1 minute, I'll ask you to start talking. All right. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. So you have 2 minutes for your speech. Your time starts now.
Okay, I want to talk about my favorite food, which is called Ikpelumuna Kolo. It's a very funny name. It's been prepared. This dish is from the southern part of Nigeria, precisely from Okbela village. It is prepared. Um, it is prepared with scent leaf, melon seeds, bushmeat. You can use antelope. You can use the grass cutter. It is being followed. You can take this dish with pounded yam, which is prepared. It's just made from yam. You peel your yam, you boil your yam without salt, then you create a mash out of the yam, and it's been served hot. This dish is being served. We serve it at, for example, doing a child naming ceremony, and also it is being served to women who just put to bath in my village, and also it's being served during our New Yam festival. It is a very important delicacy. It's a traditional dish. The reason why I love this food is because it is very nutritious. It's it contains vitamins, minerals, vegetables. We use scent leaf. We make use of the pumpkin leaf. We make use of natural ingredients. We make use of we have what is called native. We use native mangi in preparing this dish, and most times we don't make use of most of the ingredients. Like I said earlier, they are naturally sourced. The reason why I love this food is that whenever I eat it, it is very delicious because of the antelope. It has loads of when you are having this meal, it has chunk of fish, loads of meat.
Okay.
So I love.
Thank you very much for that. You have done well. You have done well.
Oh my God, was it up to 2 minutes?
Yes, now.
Oh my God.
It's up to 2 minutes. So, talking about food generally, do you think it is good to teach children how to cook food?
Yes, it is very important to teach all genders how to cook food, both the male, both the female children, how to prepare food, because they might find themselves in any they might find themselves in any environment, so they'll be able to cope and survive on their own, and know how to prepare meals for themselves and others too around them. That is why it is very important to teach children how to cook food, both male, both female children also.
Okay. So, who should be responsible for teaching children how to cook? Should it be done by the parents or should it be done in the school?
I would say the parents should be responsible for teaching children how to cook food, because most times though most times children spend time at school, but when they come home, because of the close relationship they have with their parents, it's very easy for children to learn and assimilate things faster because of the environment, and or they are more comfortable when they are home, they are more relaxed. So it's easier for the parents to teach children. It's easier for parents to teach their children how to prepare simple meals, during family time. It's just a skill that can just be that I feel that children can just get even without struggling to learn it. So I feel the parents should be responsible for teaching children how to cook meals.
All right. So nowadays you see that when you look at teenagers, it's common for female teenagers to cook than for you to see male teenagers that cook. Why do you think that is the case? Why is that happening?
Okay, I want to use a scenario because I come from African. In African, let me talk about my country, from West Africa, Nigeria. In our culture, it is assumed that cooking is not a skill that a male should exhibit. So when these children, when they are little, you see some mothers telling the boys, no, the kitchen is not for you, the kitchen is for your sisters. So that is one reason, because of how do I explain it? Because of the environment that child was being brought up. Like in my country, like I said, male, you hardly see a male who knows how to cook. Either if you see some males that really know how to cook, either maybe they lost their mother at a very early age, maybe they went to stay with some relatives, maybe their aunties, uncles, and from there they just pick up the cooking skills. They are being taught from a very early age that skill is not is from my country, it's just like a gender-based skill that is being meant for female children. That is why you see that more female children pick up the cooking skills right from when they are little. You see the mothers, like me when I was growing up, you see my dad then would tell my brothers, oh, time to watch football. My mom will call the female children, oh, time to come and assist in the kitchen. We help her. So from there, as a child, I just picked up, I just picked up the
So what
cooking
can be done to correct that perception? Can you hear me? Hello, Mimi. Are you there? I can't hear Mimi again. Who is hearing me? Can you guys hear me?